I think the long-term watchers might remember this bike from years ago, but it's changed. Any clues? Well, actually no, the title's going to give this away, what am I on about? So yeah, this is my 1977 Peugeot PR10, eventually in shot. And it's changed. I've had it for ages now, frame picked up for like 99p or something ridiculous like that, and it was originally red, metallic red, and the paint on it was super thin and patchy. Now I was going to completely rebuild it original, and I almost did. I had all the parts, everything was set to go, but the paint wasn't right for me. So I changed everything. Everything was completely changed. The frame has been stripped back and powder coated. It's a weird grey. It's a grey, but it's got a pearlescent kind of flip to shine to it, shall we say. It's got the original decals put back on it, and it's ready to go, but it's being upgraded to sort of a more modern approach. All the original components I've got rid of, and it's having I hope this wind isn't too bad, it's having a 105 group set put on it, the 1050 group put on it, along with some 105 shifters and some modern wheels. And it's having a carbon fork. So I'm going to get to it, and since this is a French bike, I will try and talk through the quirks of working on a French bike, and what I'm going to do to sort of get around that and use some modern components. It's just nothing but storms at the moment, but anyway, the head area. Now normally on a French bike you would be running a 22mm stem and French threading, which this bike did come with, and one of the reasons that I'm changing it is because the fork was ever so slightly bent. I'm now going to be running a carbon fork. The headset that came with it should go in here once it all gets pressed in and everything, but it also means that I can run a normal 22.2mm stem. So that's one of the things about the French forks and things like that. The sizing is it's hard to come by. Like the headset is a 1mm pitch rather than a 24 or 26 threads per inch, and the stem itself is that 22mm rather than 22.2. It just makes things a little more difficult, so I think the carbon fork should look good against this paintwork. So I'm going to get all that fitted, and we'll move on. The next thing with these French bikes and French threading is the bottom bracket. This one isn't technically French. It's Swiss threading, so it's just as hard to find stuff for. There are barn brackets out there, or conversions that are out there to fit the Swiss threading, but they are very, very expensive. What I'm going to try and do, what hopefully is going to be successful, is to use a frame saver, a threadless barn bracket. So that should go in there, and then this other cup is going to push in as best as possible and then thread onto this side itself. So I'm going to need two doohickeys, two tools to do it up with. So I'm hoping I can just hold this in. And I'm hoping that will be good. It is a cheap barn bracket. You can obviously get expensive ones of these from like Velo Orange. This one's just a cheap one, and hopefully that'll work. Now at the back here, these lovely simplex dropouts are obviously something I've modified. I've spread them a little bit to start with, done a bit of cold setting on them to enable the new wheel set to fit in. The 8-speed set, because it's going 2x8. So it's obviously had the larger width axle, but I've also modified it, which you can't see, down here. Originally this was just a hole, and it was rounded, so all this was completely rounded, and that pretty much only fit those simplex derailleurs that this bike came with. So I have modified it. I've drilled it and tapped it to the M10x1 thread, which derailleurs accept. And what I've also done is I had one of my friends weld on some extra material at the bottom here. That enabled me to shape this hanger with the B-limit screw, which should hopefully let me fit a derailleur. You can also buy something like this. It's a frame saver bolt, a derailleur saver, so that will drill. You can drill this hole out to, if it's an M10x1, I think it's either 11mm, something like that, or 12, just so this can slot in through the back and you can screw into it. So that's another option. Or you can always just, lop it off and go single speed, but that's no fun. So hopefully, I'm hoping I've got all this right. Yeah, perfect. So that derailleur threads in nicely. It looks straight, and the B-limit screw is able to catch. If I bring you around the back, you can see a bit better of what I mean. This B-limit screw here is able to rest on my modified dropout, so I can easily adjust where everything needs to go, and hopefully this should work. Obviously I've got a lot of adjusting to do on the high and low limits, but I think if I get the wheel set in, I'll be able to adjust everything and get it looking nice. Okay, so we're almost done putting it together. It's looking absolutely awesome. I'm loving the grey and black theme that's going on. Carbon fork looks awesome. Like, I just can't wait to get it back together and ride it. And it's all gone together pretty easy, but there is one last thing to do or to sort out for this vintage French bike, and that is the cable routing. Obviously front brake is going to go straight to the front caliper, not a problem. Rear brake is going to go along the top tube. Now it doesn't have any guides, so you obviously need some clamps. So they're easy to sort. You can pick them up from a lot of places. eBay, SJF Cycles, yeah, loads of different Velo Solo, Vintage Velo, places like that. The gearing is another matter, because normally that would be fixed to the down tube right above that Peugeot, and it would lead down to some cable guides and then go along to the rear derailleur and front derailleur. Because I'm putting on brifters now, I'm going to have to add some cable stops, which I will show you one method. Now the last piece of the puzzle to solve is the bottom bracket mounting area where we're going to guide it. Normally, and what I was expecting to do today, is just mount one of these, you know, your bog standard cable guide. Just drill out a hole in the bottom bracket itself, the shell, tap it, stick a screw in, and that will hold that on the bottom. Your cable will come down through there and shoot out to the back and through and shoot up to the front derailleur. Now on this bike that's fine for the front derailleur, absolutely fine, I could do that, but I realised something which I should have checked previously, and that is that, if you can see it, no you can't, at the rear here we've got the original, the OEM cable stops for well, for the cable at the back, and that is on top of the chainstay. That is going to be a problem because the cable with one of these is going to be coming out the bottom, so the cable would have to come down the down tube, underneath, and then somehow flip around the chainstay and get to that. Now that's a bit of an issue for me. It's not going to work, so I'm going to have to find myself a new one. There are guides available. In fact, I did have one that sits around the down tube. You can see it, that sits around the down tube down there and enables the cables to be guided over the top here, and that is exactly what I need. I should have checked that to start with. I was just going to go ahead and just whack this on, but it's not going to work. So while I clean up the shifters or the shifter mounts so I can mount the down tube cable stops, I'm going to source myself one of those, and that will finish the bike and get everything back together. So I know it's disappointing that it's not been completely finished today. I'm as disappointed as everyone else. The weather's been holding this off for a couple of weeks now, and I should have noticed that discrepancy with the bottom bracket routing. So I'll go out and I'll get myself a new guide for that. I'll sort out the down tube guides, they're looking pretty, and then we'll get it together and take it out. But I'm actually really happy with how it's looking. Really happy that I decided to actually completely redo it, upgrade it, and make it into a bit more of a modern bike. But that is that for today, unfortunately. So yeah, just to clarify, as it was the French bike that I was upgrading, I've changed out the French headset and the French forks and the French stem. That's got a carbon fibre fork in there now with a needle bearing headset and, you know, just a standard SR stem and bars. The bottom bracket, that was Swiss threaded, and that has a frame saver or threadless bottom bracket in there now, which has solved that problem. And the rear derailleur, I modified the hanger itself and then tapped it to accept the 105 derailleur, and that all seems to have gone together nicely. Yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with how it's looking. So I'll leave it there. Hope you enjoyed the video, and look out for this next one. I will combine the finished, you know, putting the cables on with the ride, and hopefully this stormy weather that we've been having lately will have disappeared, and I'll have a nice sunny late winter / spring day to ride to. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.